Hey guys, so this week's curriculum is very exciting. We're moving on to some different aspects and some different concepts. However, we're staying with stuff we did in the very beginning, the middle, and the end. We're doing a little bit of what we worked on last week and the last couple previous weeks, and I really hope you enjoy. So more of a warm-up aspect of everything that's going to be going on. We're going to work those two basic guard passes. Now I know these are basic, but it's good just for the rhythm, and we're going to be working both of them right now. We're going to do the kid's pass and the man's pass. Kid's pass, once again, hands to the hips, knee in between the belly. I'm prying his legs open, whether your hands are like this or on his hips. I'm going to come inside his legs, never bringing my head low. I square up my body. I like bringing his hip off the mat. I slide off to the side. I keep my elbow close to his chest. I come behind his neck. I want everyone coming up to both their knees right now to a nice low base. Going to come gable grip. In this guy one, he's going to work the classic side mount defense this time. He's going to work in, bottom hands pushing, heads underneath, top hands pushing, angled out. Now, the other pass, the side mount pass, is we're going to work that Rollins. We kind of introduced it a little bit ago last week, and we're going to go over this right now. So one, the drill just by yourself would look like this, as if my opponent was side mounted to this side. I put my hands to his chest, I push him up. My outside arm's going to come from underneath my back. This hand will be on his hip, and will turn out like this. So it's as easy as that. We just come, boom, on behind. This hand will remain on his hip, and then we're out. So then the second pass we're going to do will be that man pass. Man pass and the kid pass kind of go together just because they're super elementary, okay? So we figure out which leg's on top, which one's on bottom. The leg of the leg that's on top, we'll step this up. We call it the man pass because we kind of have our hips in. We're striking a pose. We push that leg straight down. The leg that's on bottom, there's nothing to support it. From going down, we'll cover over with the leg. Now from here, we can either pass far side or we can pass near side. But whichever way we pass, I want us coming to our knees, back to this gable grip position, and then my opponent, he'll do the Rollins, okay? So he's going to push straight up on my body, just creating a separation. This outside arm's going to go behind his back. He walks towards that arm. This hand starts on my shoulder, ends up on my hip. And he creates a lot of distance. Let's watch this one more time. He's going to push straight up. His hand's going to stay on my hip that entire time. And then we're going to go back over that that sit out and that throw by scenario that we've been working on. You eventually, maybe in the class, we'll hit them from that from the guard pass to the mount escape, and then maybe we could follow this person. We're calling this like a neutral north-south right now, okay? So the person's going to follow you maybe after I hit my escape, and we're going to come to this sit-out in this throw-by position, okay? So is what we're going to do different now is we're not concentrating so much on the positioning and controlling the guy. We're going to work straight into an attack. We're going to hit an attack. We'll call this from a side back mount, and we're going to hit guillotine choke with the arm in, okay? So once I sit out, once I throw him by, I'm going to come right up to his hip. Now I want you to notice, I'll choose to do this move, this method of move, when the guy's butt's up from his foot, okay? When his butt's up from his foot, he exposes his calf, and I'm able to put my shin right on top of that calf and pin his leg down. So now no matter what way he rolled or anything that he did, he's always going to end up in a not the best position. However, I have him pinned and I work quick. So when I come right here, I just throw this leg in. And I know I can throw this leg in because I have the leg pinned, okay? So I'm going to come to this side. I catch his neck, and I'm going to come half guard on this leg. His body's on the wrong side to be able to defend. It becomes very complex in here to be able to hit the defense. I like to just gable grip, suck my arm in, bend his head down. Now, if my opponent from right here, he pulls his head out, because this is something that's common. Look, I still have his arm in that arm drag position. So I'll sit up, and when I sit up on him, we're going to work what we were working last week. From right here, I still have this lockdown to the outside, right? So my inside leg goes on my Achilles, on my outside leg's foot, and that foot's going to go on top of his foot, and I'll be able to sit and pull, kick this leg, and really be able to break him down from this position here. Once we're to this position, we're going to work 2 different chokes this time, today, this week. We're going to come rear naked, and just because we haven't explained this too much, let's talk about this. We'll come from a over-under grip, seatbelt grip maybe. The hand that's going around the neck, I want to walk this hand, my hand, all the way behind his shoulder. Now when I choke him, I don't want anything to be in front of his body. That's where a lot of his defense is going to come from. So I keep this hand behind his head, and I like keeping my knuckles to his head, to the curvature of his head, and this hand's going to slip right in on my bicep. Now from this position, I squeeze both my elbows together, so I'm never really pushing his head. I keep my head to his head to make sure that he can't take his arm out. I make sure there's no space for defense. My elbows squeeze together, and I'm going to suck them into my chest. So once again, we'll boom, boom, boom. Now, the second choke we're going to work is kind of like a modified Ezekiel from back, okay? So we'll just start double under, controlling the lapel. This hand's going to come across the neck. This hand's going to grab inside my sleeve. I make a fist, and I extend back. I like extending my arm. So a lot like the cross choke from back, how I extend my arm. This Ezekiel is the same way. So I go thumb in on his lapel, 4-finger grip in mine. I make this hand behind his back. I make a fist, and I extend straight back. And it's the pressure of the fist pushing him into the throat. So now going kind of back into what we were doing last week. We're keeping everything like kind of mixing more of like a collegiate style, that folk style type wrestling into the jiu-jitsu mix, okay? And then going over the back, because in all these curriculums we haven't gone over too much of the savvy parts of going from the back yet, okay? So is what we're going to work on is we're going to work on a spiral ride. We're going to work on the spiral ride, and the spiral ride one is like, in wrestling you're just breaking down the guy's hip, okay? You're taking away his hip from him. We're going to use the same thing in the jiu-jitsu. We're going to use it to break his base and try to come up on position, whether I'm sticking in a hook or I'm, maybe coming over, covering a mount or taking in the back fully. We're just going to use it to get ahead, okay? So my opponent has a good base. He has good, strong base. I'm going to block his hip with one arm, and my other hand's going to come through. Now look, it could come far side on his neck. It could come near side on his neck. Some people grab the tricep. Some people come over the head, okay? I'm just going to go on a near side and or a far side. And it's what I do is I block his shoulder here. I'm going to block his hip here, and I'm just running forward. When I run forward, I'm torquing his hip. One thing that I want us to notice, if he builds back up, as he builds back up, you could always just come to the other side. Builds back up this way, I stay behind him, and within his movement, I'm just going to keep breaking him down. And the idea is that I'm blocking his hip once again, and I'm blocking his shoulder, but I'm using my lower body to run and break him down just a little bit out of position. And rather I do it from my near side, I come over the top of his head, or I come across his tricep. The idea of the move all stays the same. Now we're going to use the spiral ride. We're going to use it for an attack, for position and attack. We're going to break him down. We'll talk about throwing the near side leg in. We're going to break him down, talking about throwing the far side leg in. We're also going to talk about breaking him down, taking his back, maybe the shin on his thigh technique. Woo. So let's talk about this now. I'm going to come into the spiral ride, okay? And let's say I break my opponent down. If I break his hip down right here, I always have one clean hook over this way here, okay? So if I break my opponent down, I'm going to put in this hook, and let's say he builds back up to his base, we're going to come right around to what we just worked on a second ago. We're going to come that arm in guillotine, we get the choke, we get the submission, then he pulls out his head. I'm going to have that lockdown, to the outside here, holding his hip, breaking him down, coming to this position. Once again, I want us to practice 1, and I want us to practice 2. Let's go over this near leg. So I'm hitting my spiral right, okay? But my opponent, he has good hips. I'm not quite able to break him down. And plus, when I'm moving, maybe he's keeping up with my movement. So when I'm trying to break him down here, this guy just keeps good hips and he keeps moving with me. Now, one of the things is when I break him down here, I want to stretch his upper body from his lower body. Look at how there's that hole right there. So when I start breaking him down and he moves with me, I can always throw his one leg in. And once again, we'll come arm and guillotine, half guard. He pulls the head. We're going to drag up. We're going to have this outside lockdown to the outside. I'm going to bring, pull his hips. Maybe hold underneath his jacket real quick. Come around. I still like to control here. We have this rear naked choke behind the head. And then we have this modified Ezekiel once again. Now, I get in that situation to where I'm trying to break my opponent down. He's moving with me, but he's not giving me any space. He knows I want to throw this leg in. So when I'm moving, he's just staying super tight. Can't throw this leg in, this elbow's in. What am I going to do? So, being as though he's so tight and so condensed, he made that half base going straight down, but I believe he lacks base going laterally or side to side. So right away I come this seatbelt grip, I bring my shin to the top of his thigh, and I roll it down his knee, okay? When I roll it down his knee, it takes out his base. Once again, I always like pulling the jacket, the lapel underneath that sleeve to pull him up, and we have those same little bits of chokes. So finally, after all these weeks of this curriculum, we're going to get into a little bit of escaping the bat. This in particular escape that I'm using may not be the most basic. However, there's a lot of great fundamental aspects to this move that I like to pay close attention to. Plus, it leads us right into the Darce, and since we've been working the Darce the last week, I kind of like to stay up on that, and it gives us a different perspective on the Darce, and it also sets the opposite guy up to being right into that scissor half guard defense to Darce that we were working the last week too. So let's talk about this real fast. My opponent's going to take my back, and he's going to have this over under the seatbelt grip, let's say, okay? So when I'm here, I always like to build up on my opponent, and I like to keep his back flat. I feel that if I'm to my side, he's able to attack maybe my arm easier. He's able to switch position if I'm defending a little bit easier. And ultimately, before he wants to attack anything that's not straight on, he's going to have to fall to a side or side anyways as well. So I'd rather just keep him here and make him work for any position he tries to get. So from this position, I'm going to break his grips. And I can go just against his hands. He has cable grip. One hand on the thumb, the other hand on the pinky. I twist the hands this way. I'm going to bring one arm to the side here, okay? Once I bring this arm to the side, I like to hold his tricep right here with this arm. I don't want to get too comfortable right here. So when I come to this position, I start working right away. And the next thing I'm going to do is I just pull the same side heel of the arm I'm controlling. Once I come to here, I like to start turning my head, and right away, I like to grab this head. When I'm grabbing this hand, I'm sucking it in, and I turn this hip over his knee. When I do that from here, I like to come with my body, and I bring this arm underneath, and I can finish Darce. On one side, I can finish the Darce. On the other side, he's right in that scissor half guard position. So he'll stick this scissor in. I'll have my grip nice and tight. Now he's going to extend his body, and he's going to work out of that Darce. Now, when he's on this Darce, we're going to use that outside lockdown because he hasn't built himself up yet. He has a lazy hip,
And I think it's best to start to break me down instead of trying to climb up and come all the way over the top, because I still have a bunch of base about me. It's not as if I'm broken down. So I think this is a smart move. And he scoots backwards, he kicks my hip, comes maybe to the double under, maybe he comes to the over under, right? And then maybe we could just start this all over again. One thing I want you guys to notice is that when I come to this position here, I don't have to step over his leg to come that half guard. So maybe I block this out. When I block that out, it doesn't give him the direct attack on that scissor half guard. However, it's easy for him, once again, just to get up to the knees. He's going to sit in that half guard, come that scissor half guard. He's flat on his back on the side. He extends his back. He locks that outside lockdown to my leg. He starts to break my hip. Comes all the way around. Guys, thank you very much for this week. I hope you have fun with it. Hope you had as much as fun in me and this munchie.